The Thing That Watches from Tree Line. 9. We always joked Tree Line 9 was cursed, but the truth is, we didn't joke. We warned. The warning. They tell you, first day on the job, don't patrol past Tree Line 9 after dusk. They make it sound like a joke, of course, part of the hazing ritual. But they all say it, even the veterans who haven't cracked a smile since the Reagan administration. And they never say why. I'd been a ranger at Black Hollow Preserve for about 4 years before I started asking questions. I assumed it was a terrain thing, bad footing, bears, maybe even an old landslide zone. But no, the maps were clear, the trail was stable, and the wildlife sightings were no more dangerous than any other ridge. It's just that no one goes there. Not alone. Not at night. The pattern. My first encounter with something wrong didn't even happen at the tree line. It was on a southern access trail about 5 miles out, maybe 2 weeks into autumn. I'd gotten a call about an abandoned camp. Not unusual, but always worth checking. What struck me was how fresh it all was. Fire still warm, food half-eaten, clothes left hanging like someone had just stepped away. No signs of struggle, no tracks leaving the site, just gone. It wasn't the first time either. I'd heard stories. Hikers who lost time, solo campers who came back talking about eyes in the woods, whispers without wind, and always, always, the same phrase from those who made it back. It stayed behind the trees. The first night watch. It wasn't until the night shift rotation changed that I found myself anywhere near Tree Line 9 after dark. I was assigned a double, patrol in the early evening and an equipment check before sunrise. No backup, just a radio and my old lantern. Around 2:40 a.m., I started the outer loop and figured I'd push a bit further out than usual. I wasn't scared, not yet. I thought the stories were Ranger lore, leftover trauma, tricks of the mind. But I wasn't 5 minutes from Tree Line 9 when the forest went dead. Not quiet, dead. No insects, no leaves rustling, no owl, just the crunch of my boots and the small trembling flame of my lantern. The eyes. At the edge of the clearing, I saw them, not glowing like a predator, not reflecting like a raccoon, just eyes, dozens. Low to the ground, high in the trees, hovering at midair where no body should stand. Some were wide and still, others blinked, but none of them moved forward. They stayed just behind the tree line, as though the dark itself was holding them back. I called out, "Park Ranger, identify yourself." No answer. And then, all at once, they blinked out. Gone. Something left behind. I turned to head back faster than I care to admit, and nearly tripped over something on the path. It was a compass, a vintage model, brass and worn. Not standard issue, and definitely not mine. I pocketed it and made a mental note to log it back at the station. But when I looked up again, something had changed. The trees were wrong, thicker, closer together. The path that had led me here, gone, erased. It took me 2 hours to find my way back to the service trail, and when I finally did, my radio crackled with a voice that didn't belong to anyone on shift. It just said, "You left it open. Lost time." Back at the station, I checked the logs. I had been gone almost 5 hours, but I knew I'd only been out for 2, maybe 2.5. The weather station confirmed. My body temp had dropped, as though I'd been exposed to the elements longer than I remembered. I tried not to think about it. I tried to sleep. But that night I dreamed of the tree line, and those eyes were closer. The old journal. A week later, I got a package from a retired ranger, an old-timer named Briggs who had worked Black Hollow in the 70s. Inside was a leather-bound notebook with 3 words scratched into the cover. Tree Line 9. The entries were frantic, descriptions of things he couldn't explain. One stuck with me. It waits until you know it's there. That's how it chooses. It doesn't cross the line, unless you do. Another entry mentioned a compass that always points home, even if it isn't yours. I remembered the one I found. I hadn't turned it in. It was still in my drawer. When I checked it again, it was pointing north. The only problem, Tree Line 9 is due south. The missing scout. 2 days later, we got the call. A Boy Scout troop had gone missing near Trail Echo, 6 miles from the border of Tree Line 9. Their guide was found in a daze, no shoes, mumbling about branches that moved like arms. We found the troop. Well, what was left? Tents zipped shut, campfire still burning. Not a single backpack taken. No tracks. No sign of panic or animal. Except for one thing. Dozens of small carvings on the trees surrounding the site. All circles with a dot in the middle. They were fresh. And they matched the one I later found etched on the base of the compass. Into the trees, I should have turned it over to forestry. I should have stayed away. But I had to know. I went back. This time with a GoPro on my vest, a spare radio, and a bottle of whiskey in my coat. Not regulation, but I wasn't trying to win medals. I crossed into Tree Line 9. Nothing happened at first. Same trees, same smell of pine and damp earth. But 20 minutes in, I started to hear them. Voices. Mine, mostly. Fragments of things I'd said. Old patrol calls. Even a laugh from a conversation I'd had last year, echoing back at me from somewhere in the dark. And then the eyes returned. The thing that watches. It stood tall, taller than a man. Its body blended with the trees, bark for skin, branches like limbs, its face obscured by what looked like a mask made from antlers and moss. It didn't move toward me, just stood there behind the trees, watching. But my compass, it spun like mad in my hand, The needle jerked and sputtered until it finally landed, pointing behind me. I turned and it was there too. The same figure, or a second one, or maybe the same thing in two places at once. It raised a single hand, and I blacked out. What we don't say. They found me 3 miles from the ridge, lying face up in a shallow creek. No wounds, no bruises, just cold. I haven't been past tree line 7 since, but sometimes when I'm on solo patrol, I still hear the trees creak in a rhythm too steady to be the wind. And at night, when the forest goes quiet, I feel it watching from just beyond the line, still waiting